So, dear second semester students, today I will discuss on the histology of skin. So, skin is the largest organ of our body and literally covering from head to toe. The organ constitutes almost 8 to 10% of the body mass and has a surface area of approximately 1.6 to 1.88 square meter in an adult. So it comprised of three major layers, that are epidermis, dermis and hypodermis, which also contain certain sublayers. So the skin is the external coat of our body and serves several functions like protection. It protects against abrasive injuries, bacterial invasion and water loss. Then it helps in body temperature regulation. Blood vessels of the skin will constrict or dilate to aid in thermal regulation in response to cold and heat. Then skin receptors allow for perception of pain, temperature and pressure. Then skin glands secrete fluids to assist in excretion. Then absorption, where ultraviolet rays are absorbed through the skin and are necessary for vitamin D synthesis. So coming to the uh, development. Now coming to the developmental or embryological part of skin. Here ectoderm forms the surface epidermis and the associated glands. Mesoderm forms the somites, forms the underlying connective tissue of dermis and hypodermis, and neural crest cells also migrate into the forming epidermis, and the skin is also populated by specialized sensory endings. Next is our structural part of the skin. Here epidermis consists of four distinct cell layers or five distinct cell layers if the skin is derived from thick skin, and the epidermis consists of stratified squamous epithelium with each layer displaying unique characteristics. The layers of epidermis are basically stratum basale, stratum basale or stratum germinativum, then stratum spinosum, then stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum, and stratum corneum. Okay, here you can see the histological structure of various layers of epidermis, and in diagrammatic condition here it is the here is the various layers of epidermis. So coming to the stratum basale or stratum germinativum, Here, cells appears are small cuboidal or low columnar with large nuclei and are mitotically active due to their function in keratinocyte renewal. The cells contain less cytoplasm than the stratum spinosum and are more basophilic in nature. The basal cells of the stratum basilae contain melanin at their apical surfaces transferred in from neighboring melanocyte. They are also found interspread within these layers are Merkel cells, which are associated with sensory nerve endings. The basal cells or stem cells are actually anchored to a basement membrane by hemidesmosomes and to adjacent basal cells, and keratinocytes by the desmosomes. Next is this part is the stratum basilae or stratum germinativum. Next is our stratum spinosum. The cells of stratum spinosum contains keratinocytes which display an elaborate system of cytoplasmic extension which are interconnected to adjacent processes from neighboring keratinocytes by desmosomes. This cell layer is also known as prickle cell layer due to the cytoplasmic extension emanating from the keratinocytes. The keratinocytes appear polyhedral but become more flattened near the surface of this layer. The stratum spinosum is composed of actually 8 to 10 layers of keratinocytes formed as a result of the cell division in the stratum basilae, and interspreaded among the keratinocytes of the thin layer is a type of dendritic cell which is called Langerhans cell, which functions as a macrophage by engulfing bacteria, foreign particles and damaged cells that occur in this layer. Next is our stratum granulosum. During the upward migration from the stratum spinosum, the cells of stratum granulosum become flattened polygonal and form 2 to 3 layers of pycnotic cells, which are a characteristic feature of apoptosis in which the nuclear material condenses. The stratum granulosum is composed of 3 to 5 layers of flattened keratinocytes. This layer is aptly named due to the presence of non-membrane bound keratohyalin granules, and the keratohyalin granules are irregularly shaped and stain intensely basophilic in histological preparation. This layer contains lamellar bodies, that is membrane coating granules, which are released by exocytosis into the extracellular space. The lamellar body, that is membrane coating granules, are lipid rich and creates an impermeable water barrier as the stratum granulosum becomes the stratum corneum. Next is our stratum lucidum. The stratum lucidum is an epidermal layer only appreciated in the glabrous skin. Here, a translucent layers of cells lies above the stratum granulosum and below the stratum corneum. The cells are filled with keratin filaments and are devoid of nuclei and organelles. Next is our stratum corneum. It is the most superficial layer of the skin and is designed to withstand repetitive insults in order to protect the deeper structures. The cells of this layer are 15 to 20 layered stratum are dead, non-nucleated, filled with soft keratin filaments and referred to as squamous, and there is considerable overlapping at the lateral extent of the squamous, where there is interlocking of adjacent cells. The stratum corneum is bathed in the lipid-rich membrane coating granules released from the subjacent stratum granulosum cells and form an impenetrable water barrier. The stratum corneum varies in thickness depending on the forces subjected upon the region. Okay, these are the layers of epidermis, and the structure here showing all the layers of the epidermis: stratum basilis, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum and stratum corneum, where you can see the keratinocyte cell, melanocyte cell, dendritic cell, then basement membrane cell and tectite cell, then dead keratinocytes also. Now here is the cells of epidermis. In here you can see the keratinocytes cells that formed of many layers and continuously shed and regenerate every 2 to 4 weeks, and these are responsible for the keratin formation. Then you can see the melanocytes, the melanocyte cell found in between the cells of basal layer, branched cells with central nuclei, and contain organelles for protein synthesis, that is rough endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi, mitochondria and melanosomes. They form melanin by tyrosinase from tyrosine, which is very important for our body color. And next is the Langerhans cells. Langerhans cells are dendritic cells of the skin found in the upper layer of the stratum spinosum. They are branched in shape and have central nuclei and represent almost about 3 to 8% of the epidermal cells or cells of the epidermis. Next is the Merkel cells, which are found in basal cell layer and function as touch receptors. They are modified epidermal cells and sensory nerve fibers. Next is the dermoepidermal junction, which is the basement membrane at the junction of the epidermis and dermis. ঠিক এপিডার্মিস এবং ডার্মিসের মাঝখানের অংশটা। and folds of interlocking bridges of epidermis, rete bridges and dermal papillae. Now coming to the types of skin, we have thick skin as well as thin skin. Thick skin has 5 layers prominent, that are stratum corneum, stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum, stratum spinosum and stratum basilae, whereas thin skin contains 4 layers only. What are the 4 layers? They are stratum basilae, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum and stratum corneum. Stratum lucidum is absent in thin skin. Now coming to the dermis part, it is considered as the core of the integumentary system, and it contains blood and lymph vessels, nerves and other structures such as hair follicles, sweat glands. It is made of actually 2 layers of connective tissue that compose in interconnected mesh of elastin and collagenous fibers produced by fibroblasts. So it has actually 2 layers. The first layer is papillary dermis and the second layer is reticular layer. The coming to the papillary dermis layer, it is made of loose areolar connective tissue, which means the collagen and elastin fibers of this layer form a loose mesh, and this superficial layer of the dermis projects into the stratum basilae of the epidermis to form finger-like dermal papillae. Within the papillary layer there are fibroblasts and fat cells, that is adipocytes, and an abundance of small blood cells. In addition, the papillary layer contains phagocytes, defensive cells that help fight bacteria or other infections that have reached the skin. This layer also contains lymphatic capillaries, nerve fibers and touch receptors called the Meissner corpuscles. Next is our reticular dermis. This is the papillary layer and this is the reticular dermis layer. So the reticular dermis layer is underlying the papillary layer, and is much thicker layer composed of dense irregular connective tissue, and this layer is well vascularized and has a rich sensory and sympathetic nerve supply. The reticular layer appears reticulated or net-like due to a tight meshwork of fibers. The elastin fibers provide some elasticity to the skin, enabling the movement, and the collagen fibers provide structure and tensile strength, with strands of collagen extending into both the papillary layer and the hypodermis. In addition, collagen binds water to keep the skin hydrated. So the next part is our hypodermis or subcutis, because our skin has actually 3 parts. One was epidermis, then was the dermis and the hypodermis. Now coming to the hypodermis part, it is also called the subcutaneous layer or superficial fascia, is the layer that directly below the dermis and serves to connect the skin to the underlying fascia or fibrous tissue of the bones and muscles. It is not strictly a part of the skin, although the border between the hypodermis and dermis can be difficult to distinguish. The hypodermis consists of well vascularized, loose areolar connective tissue and adipose tissue, which functions as a mode of fat storage and provides insulation and cushioning for the integument. So next is our components of the dermis. The dermis is composed of three major types of cells, that are fibroblasts, mast cells and adipocytes. Apart from all these cells, the dermis is also composed of matrix components such as collagen, elastin, extrafibrillar matrix, and next is the dermal blood vessels. In the dermis, superficial plexus, actually the blood reaching the skin originates from deep blood vessels, and these then feed interconnecting perforator vessels which supply the vascular plexus. Here in dermis part, the superficial plexus provides blood supply to the papillary dermis, and the deep plexus provides blood supply to the reticular dermis portion. And then the innervation and nerve endings. Here sensory nerve endings in the skins are free nerve endings, specialized encapsulated nerve endings, that is capsule, which are modified Schwann cells, then Meissner corpuscle, Pacinian corpuscle and Ruffini nerve endings. Next, we are heading towards the skin appendages, which are a part of this integumentary system. The skin appendages are hair follicles and here sweat gland, which is again have two parts, eccrine sweat glands and merocrine sweat glands. Eccrine or merocrine sweat glands and apocrine sweat glands, and sebaceous gland and nails. Coming to the hair follicle part, hair follicles are surrounded by dense fibrous connective tissue derived from the dermis layer. And the glassy membrane, the basement membrane, separates the dermis from the epithelium of the hair follicle itself. The dermal papilla contains a blood supply to provide nutrients to the cells of the hair root. The basal cells, known as the matrix cells, proliferate and contribute to the formation of hair, and the melanocytes contribute melanosome that are responsible for the hair pigmentation. The shaft of hair is composed of three regions, that are medulla, cortex and cuticle of hair. Next, moving towards the sweat glands. First of all, we have eccrine sweat gland. Here, eccrine sweat glands are the organs of thermoregulation, and their secretions depends on the physical activity levels and warm climates. The eccrine sweat glands are found in the deep dermis and are simple coiled tubular glands. Upon stimulation by the sympathetic nervous system, the eccrine glands secrete sweat through merocrine secretion. In that, their proteins are exocytosized into the lumen with no loss of cytoplasm. The excretory duct of the gland reach the skin surface as sweat pore. Next is the merocrine. Next is the apocrine gland. The apocrine sweat gland are limited to certain bodily region, including the armpit, areola, and anal region. These glands lack typical duct like those found in the eccrine sweat glands and empty into channel surrounding hair follicles. The apocrine sweat glands empty just superficial to the entry of the sebaceous gland along the hair follicle. Next, coming to the sebaceous gland. Here, sebaceous gland secretes sebum, which is an oily or wax-like substance consisting of cholesterol, triglyceride, and other cellular debris from the secretory cells. Functionally, the sebum maintains the hair flexibility, skin texture, and provides antimicrobial protection in addition to acting as a water barrier. Similar to the apocrine sweat glands, the sebaceous glands release sebum into the upper third of the hair follicle, which nourishes the growing hair follicle. আমাদের নোস্ট্রালসের ভেতরে যে আমরা আমাদের ওয়াক্সগুলো জমে বা কানের ভেতরে যে ওয়াক্সগুলো জমে, all these are secretions of sebaceous gland, যেগুলো বাইরের ধুলাবালি মাইক্রোবস সব কিছুকে প্রিভেন্ট করে ভেতরে যেতে। Next is the nail. So the nail is a scale-like modification on the epidermis, which is heavily keratinized, and stratum basale extends beneath the nail bed. Okay, so and it lacks pigments, which makes them colorless. The nail has free edges, and the nail body is visible. The attached portion, then the root of nail embedded in the skin, that is this portion, and it consists of dead enucleated keratin. Okay, these are in short of the associated structure of skin. So with this came to an end of this class, and thank you.